Hey guys, it's Matt. Let's go light for a change. Saturday, easy. We don't want to think too hard. Let's just have a conversation about life after death, metaphysical reality, what exactly these creatures are here to do, so do we don't progress from a soul or spirit perspective. Just little stuff like that, if you want to talk about that. Anyway, I wanted also to say I don't just like sit down and say I have to make a video and what am I going to talk about. I when I write something or see something, in other words, I might make 3 videos back to back to back, then go 3 or 4 days and nothing comes to me. It's only when something's relevant or I feel the need, something needs to be said. It's not like I feel there's no drudgery. Like I sit here and go, oh, I'm expected to make a video today. What am I going to talk about? Never. Okay, just so you know, that's another thing that happens when you monetize and now your subscriber levels are, that's what's most important to you and you start thinking the wrong way. It doesn't lead to real truth. So anyway, here's the deal. Here's why I'm making this video. I came across something about Bill Gates today, where his net worth is over 90 billion. Okay, 90 billion. But here's the thing. And people are like, how does this relate to metaphysical reality? Well, here's how. Just give me a minute. Bill Gates, I clearly remember phew, about 20 years ago, maybe whatever, maybe 16 years ago, I don't know. He proclaimed in a 60 Minutes interview or very publicly that he was giving away all his money, all of it, through this Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And since Warren Buffett didn't have his own foundation with over 100 employees and this big, huge building structure, and then Warren Buffett's just going to give all his money to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So when he said that, if I remember correctly, I don't know, his worth was like 40 or 50 billion, something like that. So, and here's, I'm going far beyond where it seems here, but I have to lay the groundwork. If your intent is to give away all your money, how is your net worth doubled since you made that statement? And no, please, nobody tell me. Somebody out there right now is going, well, they have been giving it away, and his net worth would like be 250 billion if he isn't. No, okay, no. It's not people like Allen Iverson and Evander Holyfield. I mean, they weren't even trying to give it away to anybody. They were worth about $100 million, and Mike Tyson, they just all pissed it away. It's not even in this with that much money. If you really wanted to give it away, you could. Are you suggesting that he doesn't? That he was lying and he's not? Yeah, basically, but that's still not the point of this video at all. Just look at Puerto Rico, for example. The hurricane was devastating. I guess a little over a year ago. Not that the U.S. government or can't print up whatever it needs to fix Puerto Rico, which whatever it threw at Puerto Rico, it should have thrown much more for infrastructure rebuilding. But of course, the U.S. government that can print up whatever it wants whenever it needs, it's strapped financially and fiscally, always strapped, of course. But so if that's the case, if anything was real, Bill Gates would have stepped in and said, I pledged to give away all my money. I'd like to give 10 billion to Puerto Rico. 10 billion off his net worth. See, it's not hard to give away money. 10 billion to make sure everybody in Puerto Rico gets the lights turned on inside of a month, instead of there's still a segment of the population that still doesn't have power, although most people do. And I don't want to say life has returned to normal. It was devastating, but you know what I mean. But for 6 months, I mean, it was a horrific situation. And people like Bill Gates could have been helpful in fixing it. Okay? So no, he doesn't want to give away his money because there are opportunities to give your money away. I don't care how much you have. So then I thought, I'm relating that, this is where the video gets important, into the how much we need to divest ourselves or detach from this world, actually for on behalf of our own soul or spirit, to, in as the old Monopoly board would say, to pass go and collect $200, which that applies a recycling system. You go round and round on the same board, but that's not what I meant. To level up, to, okay, our soul or spirit, we use this existence for whatever we need it to use it for, and finally we are able to move on, whether this be a recycling soul trap or not. At some point, no matter what this is, I do truly, fully believe if we do enough, call it soul tokens, call it whatever you want, if we do enough, we are not bound by anyone or to anything. Of course, this is not a viewpoint in line with the evangelical Christian. I'm well aware of that. Generally, evangelical Christians are our brothers in fighting for truth. We see the sinister nature of the control structure. Maybe this video isn't for you. Maybe I'll see you on the next one. So with Bill Gates, there's always truth in what they say, or the roundabout way of speaking, or truth in movies and media. We've been over this. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So maybe the statement, Bill Gates is used to make these potentially these type of truth drops, the way who was it on that ship, the video I made about a year back? It was H.G. Wells on the ship predicted 6 years before World War II, predicted the start date or the start year of World War II. Predicted 1941, I believe, is the year he predicted. And even though, it's not all about the United States, even though Pearl Harbor hadn't happened, or maybe he predicted 1940, but Pearl Harbor hadn't happened per the date of his prediction. But so what? I mean, Hitler was still fighting in World War II, fighting, there was fighting going on throughout Europe. Okay, this is not a video about what Adolf Hitler was or was not. That is not the point here. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I'm aware of all different angles. So you can't mention anything about World War II anymore without getting those degrees of comments coming in, which isn't the point here. So H.G. Wells is just he's not a soothsayer. He doesn't have psychic abilities. He's simply used by the system itself to drop truth. He put out in that interview the date 6 years out when we would be in the middle of World War II. Of course, he was right, and which is impossible. So, Matt, are you implying it's the reasons for World War II were scripted by the puppet masters? Yes, of course, of course. This is all the world's a stage. Of course, everything major like that is put into the works. But the point is, let's not get ahead of ourselves or stray. H.G. Wells is just a puppet mouthpiece, because that's all they had back then. His famous authors had more standing than they do today, for example. But Bill Gates, okay, that was a truth drop. I have to give away everything before I die. Is he telling us we have to totally detach from this world before we die? Maybe, and that's the point of this video. But what's interesting is, of course, the hypocrisy. He's now worth double. So and I know I'm straying here, but if you look at where the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gave their money, there's a list on Wikipedia. It's just I don't know the word, absurd or horrific, disgusting. I mean, he gave it to like Harvard University and the Stanford Foundation and the Oxford, just basically people that don't need the money. Of course, all the vaccines went to Africa, and a good degree of Bill Gates' money does go to killing Africans, no doubt about that. But but he's not there. If you want to give it away, you just give it away. If it was real, if like I like to use the phrase over and over again, if the world was real, then blank. And you could do that, we could do that, you and I, for thousands and thousands of cases now. If the world was real, And Bill Gates actually, when he said he wanted to give all his money away, and on that 60 Minutes interview, and it went, that headline went viral and went global, then his net worth today would be, you know, maybe he'd be worth a cool 10 or 15 billion. I know that'd be tough. I don't know how you'd make it. But that's kind of where his net worth would be if that was serious. So maybe it was a truth drop. Maybe the message, and I'm just, again, this is a little way out, and Matt, you're connecting dots here that are really far apart, and they don't, maybe, but all this stuff is, I'm going to be wrong about a lot of things, but it's, in the end, it's an exercise in thinking big, and this is the type of thinking to understand the puppet masters that craft this reality. So even if I'm totally wrong about this, this is the type of thinking. This is generally the way they do business, even if I'm wrong. So it's not a wasted exercise if it gets us thinking in a certain way. But to me, I made this connection. I thought, well, maybe he was saying, we must completely detach from this society, this reality, this world, to like in Scrooge or A Christmas Carol, Jacob Marley comes in with the chains around him. Scrooge, these are the chains I formed. You see the chains that I forged in life. He carries with him in death. Truth drop? Yeah, absolutely. And these are the famousness of A Christmas Carol. There are reasons things are super famous like that. It's not just because they're so well written or so great. The system itself pushes them forward. The reason for the incredible success and just absolute, everybody in the world, in almost every country, can recognize The Wizard of Oz. There's a reason for that. Most likely because it delivers an amazing amount of truth. They have to deliver truth. We've talked about this, but I probably should have said it earlier for those that are somewhat new. I don't know what to call it. I've called it like this cosmic law of karma or cosmic rule of karma, that they have to deliver truth in order to execute their schemes. It's potentially one of the reasons that you and I can see certain things or understand what didn't happen on 9/11 or see the fake events. It's almost like they're always making a case for their cosmic law of karma, I call it, which is not a good thing, but I don't have any better words or better terms. I hope maybe somebody in the comments can come up with something we can start calling that. You know what I mean by that? And then I'll introduce that term and we can start using that, because I don't like the cosmic law of karma, but basically it's almost like they're always mounting their defense, where if they're ever called out by who? I don't know, but if they're ever called out and said, you're screwing these people too much. Now, part of the terms and agreements that of what is expected of the George Bush creatures, you're allowed to screw the population this amount. But you've really been screwing them this amount, and we think you're overstepping the amount you're screwing them. Well, we have developed this group. They call themselves truthers, and roughly, I don't know, what number would you put on us in the United States, people that really can see through most of these? We'll just start with the fake events or 9/11. About 1 million people, to some degree or another, steps up and says, Kennedy, what they say happened to Kennedy is ridiculous, or 9/11. It's about 1 million people, I would say, out of the 300 million plus that we supposedly have in this country. So their argument would be 1 million people, and we've shown it to them through the ridiculous mistakes that we put in all the events. We've given them all the information. We put an inflated tire at the bottom of the World Trade Center. I mean, if all the idiots can't see that no plane hit because there's no way there's an inflated tire, or whatever hit was not the same as the tire that they threw out the back of a truck. Let's not go too far down there. An inflated tire can't possibly be at the bottom of the World Trade Center. So I could say we woke all these people up with all their mistakes during the Captain Hook event, we had the next day, we brought out a father smiling and grinning, approaching a podium. We gave him all this stuff, and about 1 million people noticed. But see, those 1 million people, they weren't able to show their family, friends, or neighbors any of this stuff. They weren't able to come screw us over by waking up an entire population. So because we gave them those breadcrumbs and these people called truthers latched onto it, they weren't able to do anything with it. Very good argument. The cosmic court of karma has ruled in the favor of the George Bush creatures once again. You gave them the information and they still couldn't do anything with it. See, so they have to deliver truth. We don't know exactly why they do. It's in movies. Is Bill Gates saying I'm going to give away everything, but then he does nothing? So maybe when the fact, if he was giving it away and he was only worth 10 billion, oh, that's it. It's really scary to think about having to live life like that. What does he do with himself if he was just 10 billion? I mean, if it was 10 billion, then I would say I wouldn't be making this video. I would have said, well, yeah, he should be giving even more, but he must be giving a lot of it away because his net worth would surely be over 10 billion by now. If Zuckerberg's approaching 50 billion, I mean, really? I mean, what a joke. So I wouldn't even be making it. I said, well, he should be giving it away faster, but at least he's giving it away because he's doing next to nothing. Okay, you could go to Wikipedia and I can see all the grants. His net worth is 90 billion. That's doing next to nothing. Could have given 10 billion to Puerto Rico. Well, Matt, there aren't that many linemen to go. Oh, really? How about $1,000 incentive for anybody who wants to go help Puerto Rico the moment you get on a plane? You think people would have gone even to just carry water buckets for the linemen to do I mean, come on. You could immobilize an army if you have enough money to do good things in the world. He does none of this. He's an absolute monster like all the others. But was he saying that, was it just another there's a lot of truth delivered in this reality, that the more we engross ourselves into what society wants, into materialism, into, oh, look at my status, the names on the business card, oh, I just got the VP position, and even American Psycho is with Christian Bale. American Psycho with Christian Bale is a truth drop. It really is. First of all, the only the side part of that movie was about the murders, or most of it, at least the first full hour, was about the endless selfies, materialism. Look at me. He's like looking at himself as he's having sex. It's the whole scene's about the business card, and oh, look at his business card. It's better than my business card. And so that's the movie saying that's you American psychos. That's what you Americans are into. This sidebar, they had to cover the truth up a bit through the subplot of the murders or whatever. But the American Psycho is that caricature, which is just is basically a caricature to represent the American populace, the American psycho. So it's all truth. There's truth drops in lots of stuff that we don't realize. Even, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. That many of us, for good reason, they say what the moon is, and what they tell us the moon is, it is not. Okay, I'm not going to get into all that. This is, there's a lot of new people here. That will seem crazy to a tiny subset of people here. It won't seem crazy to most people here. But if NASA says this is what the moon is, well, then it's not what they say. But that gets into the truth. Why do we have this thing that goes back to when we were a kid? The moon is made of cheese. Why do we have that? See, I'm saying all of this stuff like that is likely there for a reason. The moon is made of cheese. Well, you dumb son of a bitch! Don't you know? You look up, it has those where the asteroids hit, the meteors hit. It has craters, and it looks like cheese. Well, that's how they explain it away to the dummies, potentially. But to me, like just the same way, they explain a lot of things away to the dummies, like what's that eye on the back of the dollar bill? Go research it. The eye of Providence and all that bullshit you find in Wikipedia. So it's all bullcrap. It's all lies. It's not what it represents at all. But when something is with us our entire lives, like the moon is made of cheese. In other words, think about it. The first person that said that, the person let people listening go, "That's really clever. We're going to use that and make that, the equivalent of 1820s viral," or whenever it came out. The moon is made of cheese. The etymology of that statement, I don't know what it is, but it wouldn't have gone anywhere. It's not funny. It's not insightful. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. Just the same way when the tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? We'll talk about that, or I'll talk about it, and you can comment on it. But that's kind of when I say we'll talk about it. The moon is made of cheese. See, this shit's there for a reason. So that's a truth drop that more likely implies the moon is not what they say it is. This dumb son of a bitch on this YouTube channel doesn't even. We went to the moon 7 goddamn times. So believe what you want. It's not only did we not go, it's nothing like what they say it is. Okay, this a gigantic rock can't be captured of that size. They can't even be captured per their own definitions of science, physics, and gravity. Can't even be captured by an object per their own definitions of what this is. So per their own definitions of in physics books, they can't even explain how such a large body is in the orbit of this body, even using their own bullshit. It's absurd. So, and how did it form? Well, Matt, don't you know? It's pretty. Although nobody understands how the moon was formed. There is somewhat consensus in science that an object the size of Mars, like 3 billion years ago, hit into Earth, and then the pieces just went all over the place. And well, if that was the case, wouldn't we have rings like Saturn? Whatever. The pieces went all over the place, and then they coalesced into the moon. Oh, really? That's. I mean, I don't have a science degree, but it's so easy to poke holes in this bullshit if you just apply a degree of common sense. Go look up on YouTube. How did the moon form? You'll see this giant object the size of Mars smashes into the Earth, and all these pieces everywhere. Well, where was the central point of gravity that all the pieces of the moon coalesced into? How did they all? And if they all came together, why would they come together in a perfect sphere or circle? How does that happen? If things just come together, I don't know, like if I took a bunch of jelly donuts in this hand and I took a bunch of glazed donuts in this hand and hot dogs in this hand and Philly cheesesteaks in this hand, and I just smushed everything together, all drawn into this central gravity point that doesn't exist, am I going to have a perfect sphere? No, it's going to be like this side's going to stick out, this side's going to stick out, this side's going to stick up like Bruce Jenner's hard on. It's going to be all over the freaking place. Not going to be a perfect sphere. Or did it get smoothed out by the cosmic river and stream and the waters? Did it smooth out like a river rock? What? Or the winds? The winds eventually over time, the winds curved the moon into a perfect sphere, the way one would roll a perfect snowball. I mean, come on. It's all bullshit. Anyway, so the point was, look for truth drops. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention. The same thing. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? And one of the key parts of this video is when these things are carried forth through our entire lives. We knew that. Where did that come from? You could look back at the lineage of that or etymology of that, and it can at least be traced back a few hundred years, I believe, the last time I looked at it. But there's truth in it. There's truth in it, or it wouldn't exist. It would have never made it. Think of it. It would have never made it past the first time somebody said it. So at some point, this is world famous. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? People in India know that, I'm sure, and Australia know that, and everybody knows this. Because it's there. It's system generated truth, in my opinion, because they have to truth drop if they're ever pulled into the cosmic court of karma. This is my interpretation. Think about a lot of truth is revealed if you think about the initial conversation or how anything could have gotten started. So some guy somewhere, after his second pint of ale, his mead from those Bud Light commercials, what does he say? Is it autumnal? The mead. What does that even mean? But anyway, he says, guys, down the end of the bar, if a tree, think about this. Let's do some barkeep philosophy. If a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Well, maybe the other guys at the bar might have been interested in talking about that for about 10 seconds, and then they would have moved on and ordered a shot or something. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. It wouldn't have gone anywhere. How is that world famous if it's not an intentional truth drop of the system itself? And what that implies, the quantum nature of this reality, we don't have time to get into that. But to me, it's a truth drop because it exists worldwide. If any, it's so ridiculous what, especially somebody in the 1800s proposing that, or early 1800s, which I think is the lineage of it. Somebody would have said, guys, think about this. If a tree falls in the woods, is that, the only other reason, if it's not a system generated truth drop, I might be wrong about that, but this is just as important. It resonated with people. See, on its own, it's ridiculous and it shouldn't have gone anywhere. It's world famous. Potentially, we know. I asked my friend Jeff Dixon a question like this, and I haven't. If he's replied, I haven't checked my email because I've been busy all day today. But it's interesting when we hear things, we almost have a sixth sense that we know they're true. So we might not be able to come up with the concept on our own, but we have a sense that there's real truth to that, and that might be the other reason to explain the world famous nature of if a tree falls in the woods. That maybe I'm kind of I'm taking a few steps back from saying like the moon is cheese. That's a system, potentially a system generated truth drop. This one may not be. It may have resonated, and people, all human beings have a deep understanding of the quantum nature of this reality, or like we all think we had abilities that have been squashed. There's been a governor put on human beings. We know that we are much more than this. Even the avatar body is limiting enough, but this reality, then the master controllers and the creatures have put a governor on us. The dumbing down process that keeps going on year after year, or generation after generation. If you want to take that back, you can say, well, we likely had wondrous abilities hundreds or thousands of years ago. So what we call a dumbing down process is actually an intentional governor, where they just keep reducing. When a governor to me was the best example of a governor to me was when I rented a truck to move from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and it wasn't a real big truck, and went out on I-5, goes for 6 hours through it's flat through the middle of nowhere, cows and ranches, and just people fly at 90 miles an hour. I mean, not everybody goes 90. It's not the Autobahn, but you get past many times at close to. I mean, people are generally moving at 75 miles per hour. And I got this thing up to about 60, 62, and all of a sudden the accelerator, it pushed back on me. I'm like, what? I couldn't get it above 60. It had a governor, and it was a manual governor. So it wasn't like an electronic. The car wouldn't go above 60. Something would come and actually push the pedal back at you. I'm like, what the heck? So I tried to figure out ways to fool it, let it up, and slam it down, and no, it just would keep. I could not. It took me hours and hours to drive that damn truck to San Francisco, getting passed and passed because I couldn't go over like 62 or whatever the governor was. But that governor has been placed on us. Some people think it's a DNA manipulation, whatever it is. And, I'm not sure. I think I kind of lost my train of thought. I was saying we most likely, it's not just a dumbing down. We had abilities in the past. And, I guess I kind of lost my train of thought for that one. But I was talking about if the tree falls in the woods, and initially I thought that's a system generated truth drop, but now I'm thinking okay, I know where I'm going now. It resonates. So we have this sixth sense, this innate ability to understand or recall ancient knowledge, and maybe that's why if a tree drops in the woods, because we do have an understanding of this quantumly fluid reality. We're not aware of it, per how the idiot mind and the ego and the frontal lobes dominate everything, and all it does is go around the mall and look for more food and more sex acts. That's what the human being has become. Annie M's pretzels. Oh, cheesesteak. I got a promotion at work. I can get more sex acts. That's all we care about. but ultimately, the human being probably had or we still do, if we can massage it and exercise it and work that muscle out, an inner knowing. And maybe that's why If a Tree Falls in the Woods got so popular, because maybe it did spark the attention at the guys of the bar, because of that little bit of inner knowing they were still able to tap into. But we're dumbed down every generation. So I would say that if that was put out today, if some guy in a bar threw out for the first time, if a tree falls in the woods doesn't make a sound, I would say today that wouldn't go anywhere, because they've degraded us enough where that wouldn't even spark our attention, or the attention of our inner knowing, where it more likely did 200 years ago. Especially with the chemical abuse and the 5G and the 50 million frequencies beaming through our bodies right now that didn't exist 200 years ago, other than the natural radiation of whatever is the universe or the sun. So, but let me not forget that the main purpose is to look for the truth drops in areas where you would not expect them, and even something where Bill Gates, people would say, "Oh, he's just I don't like Bill Gates. He's a greedy bastard. He said he was going to give all his money away, and obviously he's not. They can't give their money away, because then that's a loss of power and influence, and they get off on that. But no, that's not even looking around one corner. Looking around two corners, whether I'm right or wrong, is the possibility it was a truth drop, and it's telling us in some way to detach from this reality. That don't necessarily mean make sure on the day of your death all your money's gone. I think it's a general reference. The more you are neck deep in this reality, the more they have their tentacles around you, and they will have an influence on you after or upon the moment of your death, potentially. If you detach from this world and you don't keep biting and taking its fruit, then potentially we decide our own fate on the day of our death. There is something to that, no doubt. Whether the truth drop of Jacob Marley, to there's a Francis Dunnery song, one of the greatest. It's the live version, not the techno version. Francis Dunnery, the live version of the only thing you get to keep is what you give away. I'll put a little snippet of that at the end of this. Incredible message, the best message ever laid down in music. Because the only thing you get to keep after your death is what you give away. And the opposite. You attach to this world, you've got obviously I don't have to go over all the ways we can jump and attach to this world. There's thousands and millions of ways we can do it. And you're there on the day of your death. Yeah, it's a spider web. Maybe you will not control whether you pass go and receive $200. Oh boy. Oh, I can't even stop this video now. It's at 33 minutes. I can't. I gotta wait. This is the way people are. What do we have? 10 more. Well, it's actually going to get longer because I'm adding in the Francis Dunnery. So I had some moron who I removed from the channel who said something like 13 minutes the last video, he's a shill of the system. Or this is the shit you get hit with when you have a channel like this. I'm over. I'm outside 33 minutes. I can end this video, although it's going to get longer because I'm going to try to put in this Francis Dunnery snippet. Thanks, guys.
To make my whole life one, you make me work so hard, so I can learn to say that when you leave this world, the only thing you get to keep is what you give away.